We went and saw my wife's mom's grave. She passed away when she was a kid, and we went there with her aunt and uncle who were like her parents. And so we went and took just a really fun trip just in general. It was a really good Memorial Day. We've been working pretty much nonstop for about 2 weeks now, and that's been kicking. So immediately after we got back from that, we drove up to Logan, Utah, and we worked on our rental. So good day, busy day. The only hard thing is, so I'm from Boulder, Wyoming, and we were oil field trash through and through. And so we didn't really take days off. I've never taken a Memorial Day off for work because in the oil fields, we were working 60, 70 hours a week every week, and it wasn't a holiday they really cared about. Even if you weren't required to work, you typically just did work because it's just what you do is you work all the time. So where we grew up, it was called Boulder, Wyoming. It had a population of 75 people. In the entire county of Sublette County, which is probably larger than most of the states on the east side of the United States, there's less than 15,000 people total. The area that we grew up in was a mixture of ranchers and natural gas fields, and that's where mom and dad worked, and that's where I started working when I out of high school, just helping them out and stuff like that. And so it was a lot of the stuff that I worked on when I was a kid was mostly ranch work or going out into the oil fields and doing stuff like that. Like we missed school when I was 14, and we drive four-wheelers 5 miles up the road to go to a branding because they needed help that day. So when I graduated from high school, my family's largest focus is on construction. And so my whole thought process was, I'm going to operate equipment, or I'm going to learn to be a welder. I'm going to do something in the construction industry because that's what we know how to do. After I graduated high school, though, mom and dad said, look, it's super simple. We're going to force you to go to college. You don't have an option. And then the entire time I went through college, my dad consistently said that the professors are some of the stupidest people in the world. And I never quite understood why he was forcing us to go to college, but it was because they never had those opportunities. Both my mom and dad grew up in worlds that I will never functionally understand. Dad was a pig farmer, mom was in a super Catholic family with 8 sisters and 1 brother. They wanted that opportunity for us specifically. And so I graduated from college. I was always a little lost on what to do. I knew at my first job when I was working for Samsung that I wanted at first to be a fancy corporate guy who would be the rich guy in a suit or whatever, but working for Samsung, you learn pretty quickly how corporations run, and it's not an enjoyable atmosphere for somebody like me. And so my next job was a project engineer for a company called Whitaker Construction, which was a construction company, and I was an engineer, so I was tracking quantities. And so I was like, okay, I'll be in the correct industry, and I'll just do a higher level job than a laborer. The problem that I ran into with that was no matter what job you work, they have expectations of you that are past just getting your job done. I've always been a really, really hard worker, and I can always get my work done really quickly, but the problem was that they wanted me to get my work done quickly, and they also wanted me to be a really standard employee that works the correct hours and stuff like that, which is super reasonable. This is me complaining about standard work structure. This isn't their fault. This is problems with me. So I left that job and I became a quality assurance manager for a small tooling company. And so we made tooling and stuff from north of Grumman or companies like that. And I ran into the same thing where I could get all the work done really quickly. I learned faster than everybody else, but I didn't want to work 9 to 5 just because there's a 9 to 5 structure. If you need me to work 60 hours a week and there's a reason I need to be there for 60 hours, absolutely. But I kept on hitting that ceiling of I don't need to work as hard as I need to work. I need to look like I'm working really hard. Especially at the end of Ductworks, it looked like I was working really hard and everybody was like, great, good job, Peyton, but I wasn't. And I was just there for 50 hours a week and I got all my work done in 2 hours because I was pretty good at it. And so finally, my parents said, Peyton, I wanted to start flipping homes or getting in rentals. They said, the thing that you need to do is get access to the MLS. I said, okay. I got my real estate license. That first 6 months that I was an agent, I was working probably 80 to 100 hours a week because I was working my standard 40, 50 hour a week job. And then I was doing a full-time real estate after that, showing homes and just learning how to be a real estate agent. I just learned that I like working with people, and it became something that there's nobody that can tell me how not hard I have to work because it just made it so I could do whatever I want to do. I don't know if you watch my social media, but the things that I say aren't standard social media stuff in a lot of ways, but I like it because I could do whatever I want to do. I got to work as hard as I wanted to, and on top of that, I got to do it my way. And so that drove me to real estate. And then the contract piece of it, I really enjoy figuring out how to be a better real estate agent, how to explain stuff to people in an efficient manner that isn't condescending. And I always explain it the way that I'm trying to do real estate is I want you to understand real estate so well that you don't need me to be your real estate agent, but you have me be a real estate agent because I'm much better at it than you are. So that's the whole real estate agent spiel. The biggest thing about real estate is you just got to keep going. You just got to keep on trucking away. I had a widower gal whose home needed some obvious work. And on top of that, it was in a strange area, and there was just a lot of complications to it. I brought over a dump trailer to her house 4 or 5 times. The neighbor was real mean, like yelling at people for driving up a driveway when he didn't have a right to yell at them. Just a real mean dude. And then on top of that, she had to sell her property, and she was trying to get to her sister who had cancer, who was possibly going to be passing away soon. It was rough. We ended up listing the property for a certain amount, and then we ended up selling the property for probably 25% less than what she wanted to sell it for. So we're talking $80,000, $90,000 less than what we originally were planning on selling it for. And that's because she was trying to get the property sold so she could get that money so that she could go see her sister who had cancer. We ended up getting the home under contract. It was for much less than what she wanted to, but it was what it was. We were on a path. And then her sister passed away about 2 weeks into going under contract. And it was just heart-wrenching because now you don't get the time with your sister because she's passed away and you're getting less money. But by the end of it, I talked to her. I said, I'm sorry that this didn't work out the way you wanted it to. I feel bad about all this. She said, look, all of this stuff stinks, but the simple truth of it is the day we went under contract, I went and saw my sister for the 2 weeks before she passed away, and I had that opportunity because we did get under contract. It didn't go the way we wanted it to. I didn't make as much money as I wanted to, but there's nothing that we could have functionally done better or done more. And that was the biggest lesson that I've learned is everybody really wants all of this stuff to be real pretty, and you want to be a fancy real estate agent, and you want to look really cool. But the truth of it is you just got to keep going, and it's not going to be pretty, and it's going to be heart-wrenching, and you might shed a tear for some of your clients because the situations are like really crazy. But a lot of agents, a lot of people fail because you're getting clients who want to make it so that you make less commission, or who want to bring up stuff that other agents have brought up, or all of this like stuff, and none of it is as heart-wrenching as hearing about somebody whose sister passed away. And so for me, the biggest thing that I've learned, the biggest attribute that I always try to live by is you just keep going. You keep being honest about it. You keep being as aggressive as you can to try to get it done, and you just keep trucking along. And however it ends up, it doesn't really matter. The biggest piece is that you just have to keep moving forward, because that's what your clients need too. Your clients are super emotional about everything. You think that she wanted to sell her house? I'm sure she didn't. I'm sure she didn't want to have to go through that whole process, but she needed somebody who was calm and stable and who was going to keep working for her, even when she's going through all that stuff, so that work could keep getting done. So just keep moving forward. That was a little long of a rant, but I got it.